Good afternoon, distinguished participants, partners, colleagues, members of the African business community joining us from across the continent and beyond. On behalf of Afreximbank and the African Buyers Program, it is my pleasure to welcome you to today's webinar titled Trade in Motion, Unlock Opportunities, Driving Results. Today's session is designed as a practical post-IETF engagement platform, which is focused on helping businesses move from connections to actual transactions. We know that many valuable conversations happen during trade fairs and business matchmaking sessions, but the real value, as we know, comes when these conversations evolve into financed deals, long-term partnerships, and sustainable trade opportunities. This webinar brings together experts from across Afreximbank's ecosystem to discuss how businesses can actually continue identifying opportunities across Africa, navigate common trade challenges, and access financing solutions and position themselves strategically for future engagements, including the upcoming IETF 2027 taking place in Lagos, Nigeria. But before we proceed, just a few quick housekeeping notes. Kindly ensure to keep your microphones muted throughout the session. If you have any questions, please endeavor to use the Q&A or the chat section as we progress. Whatever question you have, you don't have to wait till the end of each presentation. Just feel free to use the Q&A session, and your responses will be provided to all the questions as they come. Anyone that isn't able to be responded to immediately will always reach out to you after the session to give you a more detailed response to your question. We'll also have a dedicated Q&A segment, so don't worry. When it gets to that segment towards the end of the session, you'll be able to answer all the questions you have. Remember, again, this webinar is being recorded and will be shared after this event. It's also being live streamed on the Afreximbank TV on our YouTube channel. Also note that interpretation is available. We have the French and the English channel, so whichever language is more comfortable for you, ensure to make use of it. We hope we have a very insightful lineup of speakers today, and we are excited to have you all with us. So let's jump right into it. To officially set the tone for today's conversation, it's my honor to invite our opening speaker, Dr. Gainmore Zenamwe. Dr. Gainmore is the Director of Trade Facilitation and Investment Promotion at Afreximbank, where he leads several strategic initiatives advancing intra-African trade, investment, and industrialization under the AFCFTA framework. With over 2 decades of experience, he has played a significant role in delivering transformative continental initiatives, including the IETF, the PAPS, the Adjustment Fund, and several trade facilitation programs across Africa. He brings both policy, debt, and practical implementation experience to Africa's trade agenda. And we are delighted to have him with us today. Dr. Zenamwe, thank you for joining us. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Cynthia, and good morning, afternoon, all our dear participants. And we normally, in my speak, where we come from, we always refer you as comrades, because we believe that where we are in a war, but it's a different kind of warfare that we will need to fight, not with spears and arrows, not with guns, but we now need market intelligence, we now need finance, we now need different tools to be able to fight and win this war. And some of you may be aware of what is happening globally. We don't need to explain that to anybody, but the key takeaway or lesson is that as Africa, we really need to focus on things that will make the continent resilient, to ensure that whenever we are faced with a crisis, we should be able to stand on our to fit as Africa and be able to find African solutions to African problems. This is the context in which we contextualized the African Buyers Program. And what we've actually been seeing is a pattern whereby any buyer, if they need something, including toothpicks, they were basically looking at abroad, China, to go and import everything, as if the continent does not have the capacity to manufacture and produce. So we've been watching this worrying trend whereby everything is pretty much imported from outside. It may be fine if those products are competitive in terms of pricing, if you can bring them efficiently, but we also notice that some of the products that some of the buyers were bringing from outside the continent are the things that South Africa can manufacture, are the things that Egypt can manufacture, are the things that Nigeria can manufacture. And we started asking ourselves, what is it that we can do as Afrexim Bank? Number one, to share market intelligence or information about opportunities for importing some of those products. If it is medical products, Egypt is producing those. Yes, you may go to India and bring in pharmaceuticals, but if Egypt and South Africa are manufacturing those, it will be good for you to buy them from Africa. We also have been looking at some of the challenges that some of you have been encountering when you then try to bring products from Egypt to South Africa. And we have also put in place the African Buyers Program strategy, which will try to address some of those challenges. The buyer program not only seeks to reorient buyers to buy from Africa, but it is also providing a range of financial support. We are focusing on trade facilitation issues, the logistics that are normally referred to as some of the challenges why some of the buyers are not sourcing from Africa. We will be addressing some of those logistical challenges through a range of support that we are providing, including the Africa Trade and Distribution Company, which we've actually established as a Global Trading Africa, which will work with you as buyers to do aggregation of the products that you want to produce. You can actually aggregate them through the trading company in Egypt, put them in a vessel, take them all the way to South Africa. And the same can be done. And a practical example of what we are now trying to experiment with is we know that there's a challenge in terms of now accessing fuel and fertilizers. That is why we supported the Dangote refinery to be able to produce and refine fuel, which is now being traded now among African countries. So there are people, governments, and some of the oil companies that are now coming as buyers to buy fuel from Dangote. And these are some of the practical things that we are doing. So we come in as Afrexim Bank, we create the capacity for producing and value addition and manufacturing, like what we've done in Dangote. Then we go and look for the buyers to then go and buy from the Dangote refinery, and there is also fertilizer that can actually be sourced from there. So these are some of the practical things. This is what we want to be doing with the buyer program. We create industrial capacity so that the products are available in the continent. You go there and buy them. If finance is required, we provide finance. If distribution is an issue, we bring in the Africa Trade and Distribution Company to help you to move these products cheaply. But we have also created an ecosystem of industrial parks. Some of you may be aware of them, what we've done in Gabon, what we've done in Benin, Togo, Chad for beef, Rwanda, and there are many that we are now creating now in Kenya, and also in Eastern and Southern Africa. We are creating this ecosystem of industrial parks to ensure that value-added manufactured goods are available for you as African buyers to be able to source from Africa, and they will meet the requisite quality that you need. We've also established the Africa Quality Assurance Centers that will actually assure you that African-made products are not inferior. They are even of better or higher standards than what you are actually bringing from outside. So these are some of the things that we are trying to do with the buyer program, and it's something that we are really championing, and we need to work with you as buyers and also the suppliers that are on the call. We really need to make it happen. We need to connect the buyers and sellers to be able to do the business. This is what will make the AFCFTA a reality. It's people like you on the call, the buyers and the sellers. You need to work together. You need to interact. You need to use the platforms that we have created for you, the IATF virtual, which is essentially a continuation of the things that we do at the trade fair. We don't want the things that we do at the trade fair to just stop at the physical trade fair. We want you to continue interacting even after the trade fair is ended. That's why we created these digital platforms for you to continue engaging, continue interacting. If there are challenges that you see in terms of progressing your deals, if it is financing, if it is logistics, please feel free to let us know. That's why we're convening this candid webinar, to allow you to also highlight some of the challenges, but also the opportunities that you are seeing, and how we can come in as Afreximbank to assist you to actually be able to benefit from those opportunities. And we know we've been talking to some of you. We did a recent survey which actually indicated that some of the key challenges that you are facing are logistics and shipping costs. We are working with the FCFTA and also with the trading company that I alluded to address those logistical challenges. Yes, we understand there are pricing gaps compared to some of the products that are producing abroad. That is why we are now financing the industrial capacity in a number of countries to ensure that the products that are produced are going to be competitive. We also know that financing is also an issue. Some of you are offered lucrative financial terms from abroad, which is fine, but we are also saying at Afreximbank, together with some of our financial institutions, we are now working on solutions that will make it easier for you to access funding. We created the African Buyer Creditor Facility, which will actually enable you to access some funding. And we also have got a range of tools that we can actually utilize, all the way from factoring, which can actually help, especially SMEs. We can do invoice discounting. We also have got other programs under our SME development program, where we can actually provide some funding to some of the local financial intermediaries that we work with to be able to support you. So finance, we are addressing, and we hear you. That is one of the challenges. And we also want to ensure that you enjoy the journey from the moment you engage with a seller. We will be there to actually support you. You want to make sure that you connect with the right partners. And that is why we also have provided a range of solutions that you see, all the way from the digital products that we have under the Africa Trade Gateway. Some of you are already familiar with the Pan-African Payment and Settlement System, which will be facilitating payments in local currencies. You do not necessarily have to wait for Forex. If you want to trade with another African country, we can actually do this using PAPS, and progress has actually been made. We now have got more than 21 countries that have actually joined PAPS, and more than 170 commercial banks that are on PAPS. So it's actually working as a practical solution that can assist you. And some of you have been asking, so as a seller, you'll be saying, how do I trust this buyer? As a buyer, you are saying, how do I trust this seller to ensure that I'll get the right products? We have our due diligence platform, Mansa, which we are using to onboard both of you. If you're a buyer, if you're a seller, if you are on this call and you have already not been onboarded on Mansa, please do that. This is one of the key requirements that we actually have put in place for before you can access any of our financial support. So we urge you to actually go on Mansa and join. We also have the Africa trade exchange platform, which also facilitate engagement between buyers and sellers. And I've already talked about the trading company, which will then come and help you to move the goods. So we've got a list of verified suppliers and markets. I talked about the industrial parks that we've put in place with our partner Arise. We've taken some of you to some of those industrial parks, and we will continue doing that. And I'm actually happy with the progress that we've already made under the buyers program. Some of you who were in Algeria at IATF 2025, you may be aware that we actually had about 1,300 buyers that actually came to that platform. And we actually concluded about $4 billion US in terms of deals that were concluded between buyers and sellers out of a total of $50 billion dollar deals that we did for IATF 2025 in Algeria. We have also been working with some countries, especially the Zimbabwe Exporters Week. We have actually facilitated deals worth about 58 million. And these are some of the success stories that we have. We'll continue supporting this kind of engagements. And we also have taken some of you to the industrial parks that are owned by our partner, Arise. And we are actually happy to note that when we took some of the buyers to one of the industrial parks, one of the buyer from Kenya who used to source products from China is now switched to sourcing from the Gabon Industrial Park. They actually produce very good quality wood products. Through the support that we actually provided to establish that industrial park in Gabon, Gabon is actually now the second largest global exporter of finished wood products, and they are now producing products that are being exported to the global market. And we also want the African buyers to go and look at that market. We also took some of you to Benin, where deals worth about 6 million were actually generated across textiles, ceramics, and agro-processing. And Benin is now actually producing garments, fabrics, and some finished products that are being exported to the US and some of the top brands. And through that initiative that we did in Benin, we managed to take Benin from a situation whereby they were processing less than 1% of their cotton, but right now they're actually processing more than 12% of their cotton into finished products. So we are creating the value-added products that you as buyers can actually access. And so I just want to now highlight that we are here not to preach to the converted. You know some of those challenges, but the reason why we are here today is basically to try and understand some of your challenges. We want to listen to you to understand where are you in terms of the status of your deals, what is actually impacting them or slowing them down. Why is it that there is not much activities on the platform? What do you want to see on the platform to be able to connect? Do you have if you're a buyer, do you have the suppliers that you need? What type of suppliers are you looking for as a buyer? As a seller, tell us the type of buyers that you are interested in so that we can beef up that information on our platform and make it really practical. So these are some of the issues that I just wanted to highlight. And some of you, you know that IITF 2027 is coming in November in Lagos. So we want you as buyers and sellers to actually dominate the deals that will be announced in IITF 2027 in Lagos, Nigeria. The journey starts now. You need to start interacting as buyers and sellers. Afreximbank is your bank. Afreximbank is your partner. We are here to support you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Zanamwe, for those insightful opening remarks and for reinforcing again the importance of creating practical pathways that enable African businesses to trade more effectively with one another. You highlighted a very important point around Afreximbank using the African Buyers Program to connect buyers to the sellers in Africa to facilitate trade, as this will bring to actualization the AFCFTA initiative. This aligns perfectly with the focus of today's session. Thank you again. Our next speaker, as most of us will already know, is going to provide deeper insights into the African Buyers Program itself and how it continues to support buyers and businesses before, during, and after ITF engagement. Joining us now is Mr. Ebuka Okaja. He's an assistant manager, trade facilitation and investment promotion at Afreximbank, where he leads the African Buyers Program. Ebuka has extensive experience developing and managing trade platforms across emerging markets with expertise spanning financial services, engineering, and hospitality. At Afreximbank, however, he has played a key role in advancing the African Buyers Program digital ecosystem and the IATF hosted Buyers Program, helping facilitate measurable trade outcomes across Africa and the Caribbean. Ebuka is going to walk us through the ABP ecosystem, its objectives, and how businesses can leverage the platform to unlock opportunities across the continent. Mr. Ebuka, over to you.
Thank you very much, Cynthia. I appreciate. I think I'll change my name or my title today because of how Doctor started. So from today, I think I'll be called Comrade Ebuka, as he has pointed out that we are all comrades in this I would call it a fight, you know, to make sure that Africa is very much represented economically, especially when we trade within ourselves. And I appreciate this webinar or this knowledge session. And I would also like to thank everyone and welcome everyone to this fantastic webinar, where, like Doctor has said earlier, he pointed out the very key importance and why we are trying to educate every one of us here and to provide more clarity on what we are trying to achieve within the bank when it comes to intra-African trade and promoting African economically. I can start with my presentation. You can share the slide now. Just give me. Okay. So again, I'll say thank you once more. I hope you can see the presentation that we have shared. Please confirm if you can. Cynthia, can you see the presentation? All right. Okay, thank you again once more, everyone, for being here. My name is Ebuka, as clearly pointed out, and I'm trying as much as possible to know how we can empower each other, the buyers, the suppliers, to be the the drivers of intra-African trade, which is really, really necessary. And first of all, let's start by the role of the African Buyers Program in the intra-African trade. We have when we talk about trade, there is a demand side. Demand is very much critical because when there is demand, it affects the supply. If there is less supply, when there is high demand, prices fluctuate, as we all know. And in Africa here, we know that for us to be able to for us to be able to promote what we have, our production, our manufacturing capacity, we need to know how we can identify the buyers and empower them. In doing that, that's why we created the African Buyers Program, to be able to identify the buyers and find a way to support them, empower them. And this session focuses on three key things. One is to support the ongoing trade activities after IATF, identify new business opportunities, and address those key challenges affecting deal conversion. As I'm sure Dr. Gamemore provided very much insight on this, on what these key challenges are, and some of the products, some of the projects, and some of the initiatives that we have developed to support these these challenges. And going forward, I think it's also important for us to know that we have done very well in this buyers program. We have had a lot of wins in what we are doing, but let's also try as much as possible to understand something. One of the things, or one of the important things that we are focusing on this session is for us to understand that in the buyers program, IATF is not a one-off thing, because we see a lot of us being very active during IATF, creating those deals, doing the matchmaking, supporting each other, identifying opportunities during IATF, but it runs beyond that. And this session is for us to know how we can keep on pushing that momentum even after IATF, how we can identify new opportunities during IATF, how we can, when we face challenges, how we can overcome those challenges after IATF. Sorry, Aya, can you go back to the second slide? Second slide now. Keep going back. Yeah. So first of all, the buyers program's role in IATF. We have mobilization and onboarding of qualified buyers across markets. We also try as much as possible to facilitate B2B meetings and targeted businesses engagements. And at the end of the day, we want to support these deals, discussions, negotiations, and pipelines development. We want to see the fruition of all these engagements. We want to see the end of it. So if there is a challenge, if there is a problem that happened that caused these engagements not to come to fruition, we want to identify them so we can know how to address them. But there is also a role of the buyers program beyond IATF, which means we are trying to sustain trade relationships and support deal conversions post the event. We also want to connect the buyers to the opportunities across African markets. We also want to link participants to the Afrexit Bank solutions, including financing and trade facilitation platforms. That's exactly what we're talking about here, because if we pay attention, driving trade and our initiatives run beyond IATF. And we have tools, we have initiatives that support those engagements. But we want to bring these initiatives to you because later on, my colleague is going to come to explain to us how we can identify new opportunities by what we have within the bank, and how we try to support us to engage and discover new opportunities. Next slide. Some of the key outcomes of the IATF, what the buyers program achieved during the IATF. If we had over 1,000 buyers during the IATF, and these facilitated over 8,000 meetings, and of course, $3 billion USD of pipeline, and within that $3 billion USD, we have $1 billion that require financing. But we know that financing is also a big challenge, because from the survey that we just did, we had around over 60% of buyers saying financing is a big problem. That's why we also have another colleague of mine who is going to provide us more clarity on how we can solve those problems. We had, like I said, we had strong participation. Also, we had strong participation from the SMEs, not just the intra-champs and the big conglomerates. We also had very, very good representation from the SME. We during the IATF, we had a lot of strong intra-African linkages across key sectors. There was strong participation across buyers, exhibitors, delegates, over-structured matchmaking between buyers and suppliers. We are able to facilitate deals and discussions across multiple sectors. And of course, like I said, the creation of a 3 billion pipeline for post-IATF trade engagements. Next. Now, this is what happened during IATF. But what do we expect to happen after IATF? We expect us to keep having ongoing connections. The connections that we had during IATF, yes, we built new connections during IATF. Doesn't mean we cannot build new connections after IATF. We want to sustain ongoing connections. We want to sustain the new we want to sustain the new connections that happened during IATF, and as well as identifying new connections post IATF. So this is what we are expecting to happen after Intra-African Trade Fair. And also, we have the sample and trial shipments, where we have buyers, we have suppliers sending samples to the countries, making sure that the products that we are looking for is available from the supplier from that region at a very good price, at a very good rate. Also, financing and structuring is also part of it. This is why, at Afrexim Bank, we keep developing new initiatives, new facilities, new products and projects that support these ongoing projects. We also want to see contracts finalized and trade executed. This is why within the buyers program, we also have some facilitation programs like the buyer tour, where we take buyers to economic zones, we take buyers to manufacturing hubs to be able to identify new opportunities to finalize the contract, to execute new deals. And at the end of the day, we also want our buyers, our businesses, to be able to identify new opportunities. We are not talking about just buyers here, we're talking about both suppliers. While Afrexim Bank tries as much as possible to develop and improve and facilitate the export capacity of Africa, we also want to create the demand from using our buyers. We want to reorient our buyers to be able to identify these opportunities, because let's be honest, we are all here for business. So if we are creating new opportunities, as he mentioned earlier about the Dangote refinery, this is an opportunity that maybe buyers might not be able to have access to or might not be aware of. But once you are part of this community, you can be able to identify new opportunities. You can be able to see what you can bring into your country, what can be accessible in your country, and how do we find these new deals? How do we assess these opportunities? Now, we have platforms, digital platforms, digital tools, and also we are here as Afrexim Bank to be able to support you within these platforms. Like I said, my colleague is going to also try to provide more context to what we're trying to say here. We have the buyers program, a digital community. I'm sure most of us have the app on our phone where you can identify new suppliers, you exhibit it. In fact, we have some people send us emails and say, I am looking for this, I can't find it on the app. We, of course, at Afrexim Bank, due to our convening power, we identify those businesses within Africa, and we try to create those scenarios where we can match them. Of course, sometimes they can match through our commitment through emails. They can also be matched through this platform here. We have had series of people identify businesses on our platform. So I can now tell you, suppliers and buyers, in case you are looking for business engagement, it is very important that you are onboarded on this platform as an exhibitor, as a supplier, as a manufacturer, while the buyers can be able to identify your businesses on that platform. The IATF Virtual, of course, is an all-year-round platform, a digital platform, a digital tool that we use to promote businesses. When you as an exhibitor come for the IATF, we keep your data on the IATF virtual. We keep the data we try as much as possible to connect the buyers to the suppliers, to the exhibitors on that platform. We also have the ATEX, which houses goods and services from all around Africa. This also has the financing capacity for people who need financing. When you meet people on this platform to be able to engage them, it is possible for us to also provide finance once you meet our criteria. Then the ATDC helps us aggregate all these products also to be able to identify, because we know that logistics is a big problem. That's why the trading company is trying to support us to be the mediator, to be the one who can aggregate these products onto these buyers. These are huge opportunities within Africa. And to be honest, a lot of people are beginning to benefit from that. But how are you aware of what we are doing to be able to support yourself in this business? This is why the buyers program is important. This is why we are calling for all of us to be active on the platform, all of us to know what is happening, to engage us, to engage the suppliers, the users of the platform. So there are multiple ways to engage. You can schedule your meeting and manage your meetings with buyers and exhibitors. You can discover and explore new trade opportunities within. Also, as this webinar is going on, we have that we have this webinar going on that platform. And also, you can also be able to engage within that platform. You can also be able to know what is happening with our push notifications, so you can stay on top of the news, on top of the opportunities, on top of what is happening. Because as we are building a community to help us drive the demand of African goods, these are all provided within this platform. You can also track and follow up on your business engagement using this platform. Stay updated on activities, deals, and market insights as we try to provide that news or that information on the platform. We also expect you to engage instantly with your participants. Now, we also know that the financing is part of it, which is really, really important for our buyers, as you have pointed out during the survey that was recently sent. And we know that financing is also important. And I said we have a session dedicated significantly to the financing part. Now, we have range of tailored financing solutions designed to support different business needs, transaction sizes, and trade objectives across the sectors. We are not saying that at Afreximbank, we have numerous facilities that can support your business, not just to buy and to sell or to trade or export development. But when you are part of this program, it's important because it can give you access to these facilities. There's a question already that we have on the platform where someone is asking us how he can have access to this program. Of course, you can, as long as you are part of this program. You have direct access to the numerous facilities for different projects, for different products. So it gives you more insight on what we are doing within the bank. Now, let's talk about the challenges that we face during trade and how we can go past it and what Afreximbank is doing. We can see that logistics is, of course, a part of it. Product specification gaps is also a big deal. Then the payment and financing challenges. We have limited trust and verification, pricing and competitiveness. These are some of the challenges that were highlighted during the survey. And now, if you come onto the right side, you see that the Afreximbank has developed tools to help us navigate these challenges. But if you are not aware, tomorrow we might identify a challenge based on the interactions that we have with you, and we have a solution for it. But within this program, you are on top of what is happening. You have been able to identify that challenge has been mitigated, and you have been able to identify how you can access that tool or that solution. Like I said, the ATDC. ATDC is something that we have used to solve and mitigate a lot of trade challenges that some buyers face, and some buyers have been onboarded and trading with ATDC because it makes it easier for them. But maybe you're not aware. But with this webinar and this knowledge session that we're sharing with you, like I said, it's not going to stop here. The continuous engagement is very, very necessary and very, very important. Also, the simplified harmonized trade standard that we are working within the bank. Once we are once we solve that problem or once we get to the next level, you are also informed, you are also aware, and also you can also be able to trade those products because of course you know what is happening. Then better information. We have the ATEX. Market access is also is also a challenge. Some people don't know what is sold in each country, how it is sold, how you can access those products. With our platform like the IATF Virtual, the Buyers Digital platform, the ATEX, you can have access to this information. You can be fully aware of this trade intelligence. Then we talk about the payments and financing. Of course, like I said, the financing, there's a buyer credit facility that is designed specifically for buyers. We also have perhaps the Pan-African payment settlement system, which can help you trade within Africa, even though we know that payment is a problem, but we have come to this to a part where trade has been happening across Africa using this platform. And the more the demand is coming for this particular platform, the more efficient that we know your business and your trading can be. Also, for the fact that we know most of African businesses have these trust issues about identifying businesses and having the full assurance and saying I can go ahead and do business with that particular company or that particular organization. Mansa is what I am urging all our buyers and suppliers to be on. It's free. Just sign up your business on and make sure your business is listed on Mansa, because it makes sure that a business can have full confidence in doing any business with you. Now, that being said, we've talked about the IATF 2025, the key outcomes. We've talked about how you can proceed to continue engaging with each other, identify new opportunities. Now, let's not also forget that we have IATF 2027 coming, and we also have someone that is going to break it down for us on how we can participate on this. But the only thing I have to say here is our early engagement is also important for the IATF 2027 for stronger pipelines and more targeted matchmaking. Because during IATF, we know that it is important for you to be able to identify businesses that suit your needs. So the earlier you start registering, the earlier you start participating, the earlier you can benefit more from this IATF. That being said, what are we expecting to do next after this whole thing? I'm expecting us to, first of all, download the mobile app, because we know how efficient it is to connect with our mobile applications. Also from there, we want us to stay engaged with this platform, stay engaged on African trade, stay engaged with your neighbors, with your regions. We also want you to use our platforms to communicate, to reach out, seek financing if you need it. We can address those financing if it's possible or if it doesn't possible, or we can address it using our financial partners. Then we can also assist you in addressing the challenges that we have within your trade, or do you have within your trade? What are you facing? Let us know, and we can find a way to know if there is a tool. We have numerous tools within the bank that can actually support you, but if you're not aware, we can make you aware. So get in touch with us. Reach out through the buyers program team. We are always here to support. You're always here to guide you on how you can continue your journey within the intra-African trade, and make sure that we reach our objectives of improving and promoting African production capacity. Thank you very much, and let's continue the journey together. I am Comrade Ebuka, and you can scan the code if you want to download the app. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Comrade. So here we go by Comrade now. So Comrade Cynthia here again. Thank you very much for that comprehensive overview of the African Buyers Program and the value it continues to create for businesses across the continent. One thing that actually stands out is the importance of sustained engagement after events, after trade events, after the trade fairs, after whatever trade events we have. Establishing connections is only the beginning. The real challenge often lies in converting those engagements we have established into successful transactions. And that brings us perfectly to the next segment. It's my pleasure to introduce to you Mr. Jerry Osage. Mr. Jerry is a manager, SME Finance and Development at Afreximbank. Jerry is widely recognized for his work in SME finance across Africa and the Caribbean, with over 2 decades of experience designing scalable approvals for enterprises across the continent. Today, Jerry is going to provide practical guidance on assessing Afreximbank financial facilities, understanding financing structures, and positioning businesses to secure the support needed to execute trade deals successfully. Mr. Jerry, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Cynthia. If you can, and I say Comrade Cynthia, so if you can hear me, please
yes, we hear you very
confirm.
well.
Thank you very much. And thanks so much, Ibuka, for the work and everything. And thanks, Dr. Gilmore, for ushering us into this. Now, the discussion today basically is not going to be something maybe we're just presenting what Afreximbank does, but we're going to be discussing and telling us the real deal. And this is how we are supposed to take opportunities. Now, like you already knew today, that Afreximbank is considered a financial supermarket. And what do I mean when we say financial and a non-financial supermarket? If you listen to everything that have been said, you'll find out that we facilitate, we enhance, and we support, not just by supporting and providing financing, we are also providing non-financial support. Can you hear me better now?
Yes, we hear you. We hear you. Please proceed. We hear you clearly.
Okay. So basically, we looked at the challenges that face a lot of SMEs across the world and in Africa in particular. You will see that a lot of institutions have done several works to provide solutions. But we looked at it and found out that there are key issues. And today, we can identify financing, we can identify limited access to market. And if you look at the survey where Ebuka and team put out there, most of the things you are saying is that we want to have more freedom in terms of assessing financing. We want to expand our market. And that's why you have people like our colleagues who will be telling you about market expansion, market intelligence, and providing insight. And at the same time, you were saying that I have a few problems around logistics, and that's also market access, enabling, those kind of logistics infrastructure and facilitating the movements of goods from one place to the other. So quickly, we came and we said, we are going to develop what we call, and we started the Afreximbank Export SME Development Program. Now, this particular program provides financing and non-financing intervention to SMEs that operate within export value chain. It's either you're a direct exporter or indirect exporter. And what happened is that if you look at majority of the businesses, either you're buying from another African country or they're selling to you, what it means that majority of all of us here are practically the SMEs we're looking at. As a financial institution, we also pride ourselves, we are an wholesale institution most times. So most of our interventions, because we work with those who know you much more better, we work through financial institutions and other non-financial partners to be able to support you. Now, in this particular program, to support you within the buyer program, we're running on 4 pillars. And how do we do that? Today, and we're going practical. So this is just a general thing. We provide financing, mostly indirectly through financial institution and directly to people who call large SMEs or emerging corporate through some of our dedicated programs, and these are still expanding. We're looking at guarantees to be able to share risk. At the same time, we have other programs which you know about later, factoring, supply chain. And we don't stop at that. We provide capacity building, which means that you don't just give people money, you just talk about money. You provide the skills that enable them to manage the money, manage the loan process, and improve their business. And that is what we try to do with this particular program. Now, with our partners within the bank and outside of the bank, we ensure you have access to different markets. And I think my colleague Ewosa is going to expand on that. Ebuka and Dr. Gemo have talked about the IETF. There are other opportunities. Today, we are focusing on the African buyer, and you are the buyers. And of course, those of us who are manufacturing here, if you're ever a buyer who try to buy other input, we have the quality assurance, which currently is in Nigeria and is expanding to other parts of Africa. And of course, policy advocacy. Now, let me go into the strategic stuff. Now, you said we need funding. The question I'm going to ask, I wish maybe it's more interactive. We have looked at the average funding that is required. So a couple of people fell within the 100,000 up to the $1 million. About 36%, Ebuka, correct me if I'm wrong, 36% or thereabout. And we have another bulky percentage falling within $1 million and $10 million. And very few, about 23 people falling above the $10 million mark. Now, what is important is not about the amount you need, but what are the purpose of those finances? Now, if somebody that has never done a supply or buy goods of, let's say, 500,000 comes to not only me, we'll send you to one of our partner financial institutions that we're deployed fund to, and you say you need $20 million today. The probability that you're not going to get it is very high because there's no track record. And so that's why we want to go directly to how do we intend to get all those funds as buyers. So if we're going through a financial institution today and you are a buyer, it's important that you want to get yourself ready what you're going to meet. And that's why we're here today. So I'm assuming that the people who need the financing are on this particular platform. So if you're on the platform and let's say you're looking for a $5 million or so, or a $1 million, Afreximbank might not be able to provide a $1 million or $200,000. But Afreximbank has made arrangement, has worked with financial institution with you that can provide this particular $1 million. So practically, let's say you are 10 of you from Zimbabwe, 10 of you maybe from South Africa, from Nigeria. We can look at that particular cluster, what you either buy or sell. Based on that particular amount, we are arranging and working with a dedicated financial institution that will get the fund we work with and will ring-fence between us, that financial institution, and the cluster of buyers. Based on that, we're able to provide that funding and they will support you. However, you must be able to meet the simple assessment criteria, which means you have a track record. And by track record, it doesn't mean you have to be the best, but you had been in that line of business before. That's one. Secondly, they can trace your revenue. So the revenue must be clear. So you have clear revenue that somebody can see, not that today 100,000 came in. And in the next 2 years is when we see another revenue. And you told us that, no, I've done almost $20 million over the past 3 years, but nobody can see it. Very important. 3, the product you are selling, do they have, and I'm going into this very, very important because these are the things that the financial institution will be looking at. Do they have the right certification? Do they have whatever it needs? The people you are buying for, are they credible enough? Which is also very, very important. The margin that you're making, is it worth it? So some people are doing a business and the margin, and I trust buyers understand that. But we have seen people that they're hardly making 3% or 4%, and you need a bank financing. the truth is that what you need is not a bank financing, it's a family and friend financing that can say, take the money, just be rolling it over. When it is time, you can now expand. That is another thing you need to look at, especially when we're looking at that indirect financing that will help you as a buyer to be able to access finance. That we've talked about purpose, we've talked about your financial standing. Another thing I just want to, let us know, in my over 2 decades of actually funding businesses, sometimes people move from one financial institution to another because there is a particular issue they had with one institution. Having a bad loan is actually not a problem. It is what you do when you're having challenges and being unable to pay. So if you're on this call and today you are having financial difficulties, of maybe the business is not going well and you're likely to default on your loan that you have today in any financial institution, I will advise that you are the first that you go to that financial institution. Don't let them come to you. There's something that will do. It brings out the credibility in you. They will think about how that will be resolved. They might even be the one that will talk about, let us try to refinance, let's try to restructure. Okay, you don't make money monthly like that again, you make money quarterly. Can we align this repayment to quarterly? And that makes your books to be okay. And that corrects your credit report. If you don't have that, then it means if I am to lend to you tomorrow, or another financial institution is to lend to you tomorrow, they're going to pick up that particular challenge in your credit report. And maybe it might just be 1 million naira or maybe 100,000 rand. And it's been outstanding and unpaid for almost 2 years. They're not going to look at the amount that is small. They're going to look at the credibility that you abandoned that particular money for up to 2 years. And with that, you can lose a financing that will enable you to buy a particular raw material for input or for re-export. That is one thing that is key. And it's one of the reasons why we also provide and support financial institutions to understand how to deal with SMEs. And that's why we're seeing technical assistance to financial institutions here in the way they will be able to deal with and cover SMEs. Now, if you see something here, we talked about post-disbursement. If we extend a loan to you through a financial institution that brought you together as a team or as a cluster, we don't stop at that. We will follow up to know that that money was actually given to you. So based on some of the data that you have provided for Ebuka, Ebuka and team, one of the things we can extract from there after this meeting is that it will be in an Excel to see your name, look at your location, see the local financial institution you're doing, what amount you need, what you want to use it to do. We come together and be able to see the kind of financial institution we can work with to extend that lines to you, which is very, very important. So you need to understand that, and we can assure you we can work through that. Another thing, we've talked about the Pan-African payment system. These are enabling opportunities. You already know we are on the African Buyers Program right now as we speak. And we also have what we call the SME portal, where you can register, training, and have a couple of opportunities as well. We are sector agnostic. These are some of the things I'm talking to you about. A buyer can be across different sectors, basically. You can be across any of the sector, agribusiness, manufacturing, across. And what it means is that under the SME program, we can actually support people within these sectors and even more. So going back to what I've talked about in terms of getting yourself ready for financing, I want to reemphasize, and I know I don't want to distort the way the stuff is going, but Ebuka, if you permit me, I'd like to hear from one or two people. I know it's not Q&A, and the reason is that I might be able to talk about one or two pinpoints before I come to a close, because it's practical. So we talked about the strong KYC, AML, and governance. What does that mean? Let's not talk about English. Some people amongst us here, you want to raise financing, but some of the businesses, you say, oh, I'm yet to register it, or the one I registered, I've not done my filing. Now you expect somebody to give you 2 million and you say, oh, they don't lend money to me. How would they lend money? You are the only person. You don't have a small board. You don't have to, you can call people together, write to them, put them in your registration certificate and say, this is my advisory board. You have not been able to validate the place where you do your business. If people can't validate that, nobody will give you money. Even if they are going to give you money, there's limited amount of money that you will get. So it's important. What are the kind of things that goes through your account? I can tell you, some people, there's something you can do. You keep running different checks and transfer through your account to show that you have a lot of turnover. And it is not real. So that's one thing that financial institution will pick up, and it's a governance issue, is a KYC issue. And those things is important if you want to assess finance. I've talked about track record. I've talked about a revenue that is consistent. And I've talked about the ability for us to support you with capacity building and whatever kind of financing that you're looking at. I think if we can provide that, we have partners that we work with. And as a cluster, we can support you with that. And finally, before Ibuka, I don't know if there's finally, this is just a summary of our intervention, but I will want us to stay at this stage. If there is one or two before the Q&A, and there was a reason, there was something we look at your survey, and we wanted to pick that out. So if there's one or two one or two members or some of other comrades that wanted to, one or two members that want to say one or two questions, and we can quickly treat that now based on the result of the survey that we received. Comrade Cynthia, I don't know if there's one or two people before we go to the next session and the final Q&A.
Okay, thank you, Comrade Jerry. So participants, if anyone has wants to participate in this, can you just indicate by raising your hands, and you'll be unmuted immediately and given the floor to speak. Just raise your hands and you'll be given the floor.
Yeah, 6 now.
Okay, we have 6 hands raised.
All right, please. Go ahead.
So I just unmute the first person that raised their hand. The first person.
Now we have Mr. Ayoji. You're allowed. Now you can speak.
Mr. Ayodeji, please proceed. The floor is yours.
We can also try Mr. Jadi.
Yeah, I just hold on. Mr. Ayodeji, are you there? You see your hands is up and you've been unmuted. Can you speak?
I've been unmuted. Oh, sorry.
Yes, please proceed.
This is Mr. Jadi Banda.
It's Mr. Yeah, Gadi Banda.
Okay,
Can I
Mr.
speak?
Gadi.
Yeah, I just want to
go ahead.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, first of all, I'd like to put this point that some of us are in agribusiness kind of space, whereby there's a lot of activities which happen in our adventures, mainly whenever we talk about grain crops. or at which, whenever it comes to revenue, it does not show up to be like a very consistent revenue. We may end up having like a once a year kind of thing, whereby it's not consistent. And whenever this kind of funding comes to place, they are not that kind of looking at the investment which we have done. We might have planted so many macadamia nuts, so many cashew nuts crops, or even so many plantation crops, but it does not show revenue in our accounts. And whenever it comes to kind of financing, that thing is kind of regarding that we are not generating revenue for us to be considered for that. In what way can the bank be innovative to be considering those kind of projects whereby they have invested for a very long time in some form of a period plantation and the revenue is not showing, but they've got the potential that they can be able to be financed and be able to add value to their products? That's my question.
Thank you very much. Cynthia, can I quickly take that? What
Yes,
you said is
please.
very, very valid. The kind of business you do is what we can call a seasonal business. That's one. You plant, you get those crops, let's say cashew, for instance, you process for export. What happened that there is a particular cycle. So if it's a financial institution that understands your cycle, and which means you must deal with it, both us and a local financial institution that understand agribusiness and the particular cycle. So for instance, your cycle from planting to processing to export and to getting your money back might be 6 months. So what you might be looking for, what kind of funding are you looking for? Is it working capital for pre-export? So, because when you go and just say, I need a term loan that I have to pay back every month, when they look at your cycle of revenue that comes in once or twice a year that is tied to harvest and all those things, they will not give you. It will be wrong for someone to give you a loan that you have to pay every month. But we see people sometimes, in my experience, who knows that their cycle comes in once or twice a year, but want to get a loan that will pay monthly. I say, don't worry, I'll find a way to pay. So in this case, the kind of loan that you are to request for is also important. It must be a loan that is tied to that particular season and how that revenue comes in. So let's take cashew, for instance. You are getting a lot of buyers from other African countries or Vietnam, for instance. That particular PO you have and everything you have is critical for you to be able to get that financing. If you cannot tie it to anything, it will be difficult for anybody to fund it. It's not because your revenue comes in once a year or twice a year. It's because that might be the kind of funding that you're looking for does not align with the timing of your revenue. And I know you understand this very well. However, it does not mean that you cannot have for general working capital for OPEX, but it means that you must have other things that you do, which means you sell on open market that generate little revenue that can take care of the interest of a side working capital that you take. But if it's a major facility in line with that, it must align with the timing of your revenue and how you sell it, and they must be able to trace that particular facility. So if we are to come in, I don't know the amount, which means we can come in directly based on the amount, or any of our partner financial institution can come in, they must be able to trace that cycle and link it to a particular money that will come in and a particular transaction. If they can't link it and you're doing once or twice a year, because they don't have the visibility into that particular financing, they will not be able to give you. So it might be good to maybe after this call or any day, you send an email to Comrade Ebuka and put a detail of what you're doing, the people you're working with, and that cycle. We see how we can match you and how we can support you. I hope that answers your question. Thank you.
Oh yeah, yes, it answers my questions. Thank you very much. It's just like we have seen some people from many European countries being able to finance their companies to do those kind of financing. They're able to do those calculation. I mean, I don't know whether they pay them yearly whenever it comes to those interests, but they do their financial package is well suited to this kind of projects. But here, even African, where you are doing, you are normally looking at monthly. It would have been better if it would have also been innovative and look at this kind of long-term financial projects, which are not consistent monthly. But yeah, thank you very much.
Okay, yeah. So let's just see, we see the end-to-end of how your business is when you make the money, how the funding comes in, when the funding comes in, and we'll be able to see. And I know that there's a lot of financial institutions that we work with that actually support the agribusiness value chain, because there's so many across the continent. So yes, please write to Comrade Ibuka, and we'll be happy to provide a guide and also support the funding if it's within our own threshold. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Comrade Jerry, and thank you, Comrade Gadi, for that question. I'm sure it has benefited most of every other person on the call, on the webinar. I don't know if Mr. Ayodeji is available now to speak, so you can ask your own question right now. Please go ahead, Mr. Ayodeji. If you're speaking, because we can't hear you, if you're not available, we may need to give this chance to someone else. You can always type your question as well if you're having issues with your mic.
Yeah, that's true.
We have several people, so we can actually give a chance to a different one.
Okay, can you unmute one more person?
Okay.
Mr. Ayodeji, please don't forget to type your question if you can't speak.
Can I speak?
Also. Okay, yes, we
Mr.
can hear
Ayodeji
you.
put the question here. Can
Please
African
proceed.
support us with finance for exportation? Yes, we can support with financing for exportation, but we need to see what we call your teaser and the type of financing you want. By the time we look at it, we will determine if it's the type we can support or the one that can go through the people that we work with. So yes to that answer. I just looked at the chat from Mr. Ayodeji. Thank you. Please go ahead if you have been unmuted.
Okay. Hello, everyone.
Hello, please proceed.
All right. Thank you very much for this great opportunity. My name is Chioma Ogbe. I am speaking from Edo State in Nigeria. I am a food processor, and I've been privileged to attend export trainings, even one that was supported or funded by Afrexim. But even after that training, for one, I still feel that Afrexim is still like very far away from the SMEs. There's this gulf or distance between businesses like mine and all the interventions that Afrexim is bringing. After that training, we were made to understand that export has to do with a lot of documentation and certifications, and which on my part I've been trying to put together. So I have quite a number of certifications like right now, but I still find it difficult to know exactly where I can plug myself in, get buyers, and fund the export process, and then kind of move on from there. At the point where I am now, I need funds for bigger machines because the capacity is actually growing. There are times even for production to supply local market here, there are times we also struggle to meet up with orders and stuff like that, which I know that with bigger machines or improved machines or more efficient machines, those would be easier. But then all the certifications that we have gotten, they would get to expire if we, like now I have FDA, I have HACCP, and we are still moving forward to see if we can get more certifications. So, but with those certifications and without buyers, those certifications get to expire, and then the motivation to renew them, will begin to lower and stuff like that. So I would want a situation where Afrexim can actually come closer to the SMEs, and like, I don't know, is it a training? I've done a lot of trainings, but actual activity that the SME will be part of that will now transition into doing the real export and learning along the way. So I am hoping that this buyers forum will do that, but we need hand holding to be actually onboarded on this buyers forum, and then learn as we go. So I would want a situation where Afrexim would be real closer to the SMEs. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I think this particular question, there's a next session that will come in. We talked about this particular question in terms of expanding your market, what the buyer have to offer. Then at the Q&A, we'll provide a detailed answer to this. And please pin this particular question because it's like 3 in 1. There's market access expansion, which means that's the next session. You also have funding in it. We need to ask some hard questions from you at the same time. And of course, we need to look at, is it more capacity building and things? So, Comrade Cynthia, I want you to pin this question down because there will be some of the next section will be answering this question then in the final Q&A. So back to you, Cynthia. Thank you very much. You can go
Thank
to
you
the
very
next section.
much, Comrade Jerry. That was a thank you for the very practical and insightful presentation and also the interaction. It's made, I'm sure a lot of people have benefited from those questions and your responses. Like you said, access to financing is certainly critical, but equally important is access to reliable market intelligence and visibility into emerging opportunities across the continent. Businesses, we know, need the right information to identify the right markets, partners, and sectors for good. To help us explore this further, I'm pleased to introduce Mr. Egosa Onayiwu. He's a consultant in research and trade intelligence solutions at Afrexim Bank. Egosa is a seasoned management consultant with experience at firms including KPMG and Dalberg Advisors. His expertise spans strategy, operational excellence, and organizational transformation across sectors such as consumer markets, financial services, agribusiness, and healthcare. Today, Egosa will discuss how businesses can leverage trade intelligence and data-driven insights to identify new opportunities across African markets. Egosa, over to you.
Thank you very much, Cynthia. Aya, please could you share the slides?
I guess I've now shared. Can you see the slide?
Not from my side. Okay, yeah, I can see it now. All right, so okay, thanks very much. Okay, good afternoon, distinguished participants and colleagues who have gone before me. So here, I want to share some insights on discovering new opportunities through market intelligence. So what I want to do, I'm going to go through briefly the Africa opportunity landscape, then also talk about some of the challenges of doing business in Africa, which I'm sure you're familiar with. And then that would segue into how Afrexim Bank, helps, address some of those challenges through our trade intelligence solutions team. Then we would go into what sets us apart, as well as, what, the key contacts, right? How you can reach us and how you can get in touch with us. Okay, so starting with this particular slide, I think the key message here is that, Africa is an opportunity that is unmissable, right? Because one that presents like a compelling growth frontier. By the end of the decade, we are estimated that we'll get to approximately about 1.7 billion people. So that's a big market for the consumer-focused industries as well as consumer-focused businesses, right? And this also underpinned by, the expanding middle class. You have over almost 300 million people who are using mobile financial services now across the continent. So you're hearing about Flutterwave, you're hearing about M-Pesa, and so on. Okay. You have over 100 cities where populations will exceed 1 million people. You have over 400 companies who will be generating more than 1 billion in annual revenues. So bringing all that together, we are looking at the the one big opportunity, which is the AFCFTA, right, which is more or less the world's largest free trade area that will be connecting 54 countries across Africa, right? Yes, there are still some gaps because right now, intra-African trade is estimated to be around 15%, but we've made some progress because a few years ago it was 11, 12%, but it's still far beyond places like Europe, where intra-European trade is close to 60%, or in Asia, where it's around 50%. So moving on, if we talk about challenges of doing business in Africa, you have already mentioned some of that. I was looking through some of the chats, the quick the questions in the chat box. And you'd already talked about market access barriers, so including tariffs, customs processes that are inefficient. We talked about regulatory fragmentation. You have varying standards. Some of them are so voluminous, including policies, across various countries. So if you're having to move from one country to the other, you have to familiarize yourself with these as well. That's not talk about also the logistics and infrastructure constraints, right, which impact supply chains. And again, that has a ripple effect when it comes to cost efficiency. And then one of the areas that we've also set out to address, which is access to reliable market insights, market intelligence, right, that helps you know what's happening on the ground, as well as access to trusted partners. Then there's also currency volatility, that we're already experiencing given the current unrest or conflicts going on in the Middle East, which has caused the surge in fuel prices, which has also caused the surge in fertilizer prices, and that is being transmitted to other, sectors of the economy, right? I would say the implication here is that to succeed in Africa, it requires more than the ambition, right? It requires, insight. It requires being able to adapt, and it also requires local intelligence, right? And that's really where Afreximbank comes in with the trade intelligence solutions, right? Moving on to the next slide, you find that Afreximbank's trade intelligence solutions, right, is the structured or strategic trade advisory and intelligence function within Afreximbank that supports clients when it comes to navigating African markets, unlocking growth opportunities. Our work covers, market analysis and sizing, business models, market entry, export prioritization, sector identification. I know a number of people have asked, where are those sectors that we can invest in? Okay, that's part of what we do through the various services that we provide. And this work covers all sorts of industries: manufacturing, FMCG, agribusiness, construction. So we've had clients who are into making adult sanitary products, right? They're producing in West Africa and they are looking to export to other parts of Africa. We have clients who are producing beverage products and they want to expand to other countries in West Africa as well as East Africa. So we're able to provide that kind of support to them. This particular slide actually captures like the main service offerings. So 3 main buckets, right? So one is market understanding the market. So when it comes to market understanding and insights, second is around strategy and growth, and then third is around trade investments and business facilitation. Now, under the market understanding and insights, this is where we do market screening. So you have an idea where you want to go to, but you still need to screen and prioritize, right? We've had a case of a client where they've actually expanded the scale, but they've come to us recently and they wanted to, now go about it in a structured way, in a structured manner, because before they had it was more trial and error. So they had this 50% success rate, but now they've come to us and said, look, help us in a structured manner. And we did the analysis, and they were when we did the analysis and prioritize the markets, they were able to see which were the markets that make the most sense for them. And some of the markets, even like one of the markets that they are operating in, they were able to see clear reasoning, why it didn't make sense for them to have gone into the market, because by the time it was ranked, that market was, way below, I think maybe like 20th or 25th in rankings when it comes to the markets that they were considering, right? So that's sort of the kind of value that we bring when it comes to understanding the markets. So provide industry competitive analysis, macroeconomic intelligence. All this is data-driven, right? Because it helps you to make informed decisions. The second bucket is around strategy and growth. Here we support with the actual entry into the markets, right? And the actual expansion strategies. What sort of model makes sense? Do you want to do greenfield? Do you want to go and set up a local entity? Or do you want to partner with people who are on the ground? Do you want to do a hybrid approach? So we analyze all that and we bring insight to it. So we also help with executive strategy facilitation, and when it comes to building capacity, as it relates to trade, so trade-related capacity building. So basically, this is helping organizations move from just having that insight to actually executing. The third bucket, again, I'm sure this will be of interest to you. It is this the actual trade business facilitation. So here we're looking at trade and investment promotion strategies. This for government, but the next two definitely be relevant to you, which is the inward and outward trade missions, B2B matchmaking, and this is where we bring businesses together. So we have clients who have come to us. I have a current client, it's an agribusiness client producing fruits and is looking for new markets. So right now we're helping him source partners that he can actually provide supply to, and expand his business. And we're doing this across Africa as well as in Europe. Okay. No, please, if you go back to the previous slide, just before we come here. I think before we move on to that next slide that talks about what sets us apart, I think it's important to mention how do we deliver value here, and we do it in two main ways, right? One is direct advisory, and then the second way that we deliver this is through our digital tools. Our digital tools, if you are already embedded or onboarded onto the ATG, that's the Africa Trade Gateway ecosystem, then you would have access to the trader intelligence and trader regulation. So that provides digital tools, gives you access to market intelligence, that's through trader intelligence, and gives you access to for each of the countries in Africa, the regulations, the tariffs, the duties that you need to pay, or the relevant policies, everything is centralized, on that trader. So you can go there by yourself and actually, access the information. Now, where you need support, there's some more nuance to your requirements. That's where we provide direct advisory, to help you. So I know that one of my colleagues, Kenneth, is here. So maybe during the Q&A, those that still want, because I see some people have also asked in the Q&A, so in the chat box, about what the ATG is about, if they can access partners on the ATG. I think simple as that, yes, but a colleague who is a product owner can actually talk more about it later on. Okay, so moving on, what sets us apart, it's basically around our Unmatched Africa footprint. We have present all 54 countries in Africa. They are shareholders of our Flexi Bank. So we have the relationship, right, both with the public and the private sector. We also have thought leadership when it comes to trade and market intelligence. Currently, we produce about 114 publications. That's within Trade Intelligence Solutions. And we do this annually. So we have some that are quarterly. We have profiles for all the countries, the key sectors, those who are part of the Trader Club, who have onboarded on the ATG. We send out quarterly newsletters that provide insights into the various markets, right? That talks about the opportunity, the business and investment opportunities in those markets based on what we are seeing, the trends, the developments in the various sectors. And so also highlights what are some of the things you can do to actually take advantage of those opportunities, as well. So our industrial expertise sets us apart, and we have a track record, right? Doing this. So, if we move on to the next bits as we bring this to a close. So these are key contacts. So please, you can reach out to Ebuka, or you can reach us directly. These are our key contacts on the screen. And I'm sure when the slides are shared, you also have these as well. To round off, I just want to talk about, I know I started off this by talking about the opportunity that Africa brings and how AFCFTA is bringing all this together. One of the things that we do is to share, is to actually help people handhold businesses, right? Understanding how AFCFTA operates. IF, you can move on to the next slide. How AFCFTA operates. And we do that through our capacity building program, which we hold annually, right? And so this is the third edition of this training program. Is the AFCFTA, its genesis, its dimensions, and its prospects for African businesses, right? So for this year's edition, is holding next month, June, and it's from the 16th to the 18th at the JW Marriott Hotel in Cairo, in Egypt, right? Currently, there's a promo. I know that on the screen now it shows it. The early bird ends April 30th, but that's actually been extended. It's now it will end, I believe, tomorrow, Friday, the 15th. So please, if you are available, you can come to Egypt, come participate. It's an in-person program. It's going to last for 3 days, and there will also be a capstone project where all the participants will engage, we'll discuss, we'll brainstorm together, and they would build on how to practically leverage the insights that they've gained from the training. So please come. The training provides an opportunity to meet with businesses from other parts of Africa who are going to participate. Last year, it was held in Abuja, and we have businesses corporates that came from over 15 countries in Africa, and people were able to connect. People have shared testimonials of how they've been able to grow their businesses, right, as a direct result of this training. So yes, June 16th to 18th. You can also go to the registration link on our social media handles as well. So I want to say thank you for this. There's an opportunity in Africa. We have the tools, both in terms of direct advisory and digital, to enable you to identify the right markets, to help you to mitigate the risk, to help you to build the right partnerships, and ultimately for you to compete and succeed in a sustainable manner. Thank you very much. Over to you, Cynthia.
Thank you so much, Comrade Erosa. That was a very insightful perspective on the importance of data and intelligence in unlocking intra-African trade opportunities. As businesses continue positioning for growth across the continents, platforms such as the IETF remain essential in connecting markets, facilitating deals, and driving visibility for African enterprises. Our next speaker is Ms. Janice Costa, Trade Facilitation and Investment Promotion at Afreximbank. Janice brings over 20 years of experience in strategic partnerships and sponsorships across Africa and the Middle East, with deep expertise in stakeholder engagement, trade platforms, and commercial growth within emerging markets. She has played a key role in the success of the Intra-African Trade Fair, which has facilitated over $130 billion in trade and investment deals across its last 3 IETF editions. Today, Janice will share key outcomes from the IETF 2025 that held last year in Algeria. And she will also discuss how businesses can begin to position early to maximize opportunities leading up to the next IETF 2027 in Lagos, Nigeria. Janice, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon, everybody. So basically, Africa's trade landscape is undergoing significant transformation at this stage. Across the continent, I believe that governments, corporates, SMEs, investors, financial institutions are increasingly looking beyond traditional trade models and seeking platforms that can create real commercial outcomes, strategic partnerships, industrial growth, and long-term economic impact. Today, trade is no longer just about market access. It's about competitiveness, value chains, industrialization, digital connectivity, investment, and the ability for African businesses to scale both globally and regionally. That is exactly what the Intra-African Trade Fair was created to achieve. IATF, as we call it, has evolved into one of Africa's largest and most important trade and investment platforms, where we bring together governments, businesses, buyers, investors, creators, institutions, and entrepreneurs from across Africa and the diaspora as well into one integrated platform designed to facilitate trade and business opportunities. What makes the IATF unique is that it's simply not an exhibition or a conference. It is a complete trade investment ecosystem built around multiple engagement pillars and sector platforms designed to support intra-Africa trade and industrial development. Let's move to the next one, Aya. This platform, IATF, the verticals we have the trade and exhibition, we have our trade and investment forum, we have our B2B and our B2G platform, we have our special days, we have our CANEX, which is called the Creative Africa Nexus, we have the Africa Automotive Show, we have the Africa Research and Innovation Hub, we have our IATF Virtual, and we have our African Sub-Sovereign Government Network, which is called AFSNet. So together, all these verticals create an ecosystem where businesses can showcase products, services, and governments can promote investment opportunities. Buyers can actually source suppliers, investors can identify projects, and partnerships can be built across multiple sectors of the African economy. So at IATF 2025 last year in Algeria, we witnessed the continued growth and impact of the platform. We actually welcomed over 2,000 exhibitors. We had over 100,000 visitors, and we had participants from over 130 countries, while we facilitated nearly 50 billion in trade and investment deals. But what stood out for me most was not beyond the scale, the numbers, and what really stood out was the quality of the engagements taking place across the platform. We saw governments actively promoting trade and investment opportunities, African manufacturers and exporters securing new partnerships, buyers were connecting directly with suppliers and producers. The financial institutions were engaging with businesses across multiple sectors, and the SMEs were accessing continental visibility with new markets. The creatives, they were using CANEX as a gateway into the broader African global creative economy. And what became very clear during IATF 2025 is that Africa's trade conversation is changing. Businesses are no longer just looking for access to markets. They are looking for scale. They are looking for supply chains. They are looking for investment. And they are looking for buyers, partnerships, industrial capacity, and long-term growth opportunities. And this is exactly why, after thought process and going through the past events, the theme for IATF 2027 is Global Africa, Smart Trade, from Market Access to market power. So this theme really reflects the next phase of Africa's trade journey. It's about moving beyond participation and towards positioning Africa as a globally competitive trade and industrial force. It's about creating stronger African businesses, stronger regional chain supplies, greater value addition, more industrialization, and smarter ways of connecting trade opportunities across the continent and beyond. So now as we look forward to IATF 2027, that will be in Lagos, Nigeria, from the 5th to the 11th November, we see enormous opportunities. Lagos is one of Africa's leading commercial, financial, and entrepreneurial hubs, as we all know. It provides major access to corporates, SMEs, manufacturers, investors, innovators, consumers. It's a market that can represent scale, energy, business activity, and continental connectivity. So for 2027, I believe we're going to have a very strong focus on smart and digital trade solutions, buyer-led trade opportunities, investment and deal facilitation, manufacturing and industrialization, youth and SME participation, the expansion of the creative economy through our CANEX program, strengthening African supply chains under the AFCFTA, trade technology and digital commerce, and regional global partnerships. We are replacing significant emphasis. Replacing significant emphasis on smart trade, because smart trade is about using technology, data, connectivity, and strategic partnerships to make African trade faster, smarter, connected, and more competitive. So this includes better matchmaking between buyers and suppliers, digital trade platform, smarter business networking, more efficient trade ecosystems, and stronger integration between African markets. Most importantly, IATF, we're going to focus on measurable outcomes. We're going to continue focusing on measurable outcomes, not just conversations, not just visibility, but real transactions, real partnerships, real business opportunities, and real economic impact. For governments, IATF provides a platform to position the country's investments, exports, and development. For businesses, it creates direct access to buyers, markets, financiers, distributors, strategic partners. For investors, it provides access to one of the world's fastest growing economic regions and a pipeline of opportunities across multiple sectors. For SMEs and entrepreneurs, it creates visibility, market access, and the opportunity to scale. And for Africa's creatives, through our CANEX program, it's going to create a platform where culture, creativity, trade, and commerce intersect. And as we build to Lagos 2027, now is the time for businesses, governments, institutions, and stakeholders to engage early, position strategically, and become part of Africa's next phase of trade transformation. Because the future of African trade is not static, definitely. And through IATF, Africa is positioning itself not just to participate in global trade, but to shape it. I would like to personally invite all the buyers on the call today to be part of IATF 2027 in Lagos, Nigeria from the 5th to the 11th November, Africa's premier trade and investment platform. So as a buyer, this is not just attending an exhibition. This is an opportunity for you to directly connect with suppliers, manufacturers, exporters, governments, and business leaders from across Africa, from across global Africa, the diaspora, all in one place in those 7 days. Through our curated buyers program, you'll gain access to the pre-arranged B2B and B2G meetings, verified suppliers and sourcing opportunities, strategic networking and matchmaking opportunities, new markets, new partnerships, and investment opportunities. Like I said earlier, last year we facilitated trade and investment deals almost up to 50 billion. And that reinforces the platform's role as a catalyst for Africa's trade and commercial growth. As Africa's trade landscape continues to evolve under the AfCFTA, IATF 2027 will provide a powerful gateway to build partnerships, strengthen supply chains, and unlock new business opportunities across the continent. We really look forward to welcoming you to Lagos for IATF 2027, and we suggest you register now and be part and have a seat on the table. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Comrade Janice. I mean, it can't be overemphasized in the need, the importance of being represented at the Intra-African Trade Fair. We've had a lot of success stories from exhibitors, from participants who have attended our previous editions. The next edition isn't going to fall short of any of these. It's even going to be much, much better. Thank you, Janice, for that insightful presentation. So we will now move on into the Q&A. We are very mindful of the fact that our time has been fast spent. So we'll only be able to take a few of the questions. So like I said at the start of the session, if you have any question, please post it on the chat. I'm going to read out a few of the questions from the chat, and if your question is not read out or answered, please rest assured you will get a response in your email, or you can always also reach out to us via email and we'll answer any questions you have. Also note that the slides, the presentations will be shared with all who participated in today's session. So rest assured that you can get more information when the slides are shared to you. So I'll go right into the Q&A session, and I'm going to read out the questions and we'll call on my colleagues as it goes to answer the question, answer whichever one they belong to. Our first question will be taken by our director, whom I see is still on the call. Thank you, Comrade Gemore. So the question goes like this: I trade between Ghana and Cote d'Ivoire, and the bottlenecks at the Elubo-Noa border are too many. For instance, to drive through Cote d'Ivoire, I need to have too many papers for my private vehicle, which cost a lot to have and are too bureaucratic in nature. I'm sure Ivorians who also want to come trade in Ghana will be faced with the same issues. At government level, can't discussions be held to streamline all these bureaucratic formalities, to say one only needs one document, for instance, to just travel from one country to another? Comrade Gilmore, I don't know if you heard that question and if you're available to respond. Okay, he's probably here, but he's not here. You know, that's how we do in our President Bank. You could be attending 3 meetings at the same time. So sometimes your body is in one, your soul is in the other one, and your mind is in the other one. So Mr. Dennis Kwakuvolo, rest assured, please drop your email address and we'll send a response to this question directly to your email. Apologies that Mr. Gilmore is not here now to take this question. So we'll quickly go on to the next question. And like I said, we won't be able to cover all the questions. So I'll try to be as fast as possible. This question is from Mr. Walter Emie Dafe. I would like to seek clarification regarding supplier onboarding. I downloaded the buyer program app with the intention of registering as a supplier, but I noticed that it is strictly designed for buyers. While we do purchase some of our construction materials, our primary interest lies in assessing procurement opportunities through this buyer program. Could you kindly advise if there is a dedicated portal or process for supply registration within this program? I'll yield the floor to Mr. Ebuka to provide an answer to this question. Comrade Ebuka, please.
All right. Thank you very much, Cynthia and Walter. Thank you very much also for your question. And I noticed that we had a couple of these questions in the Q&A section. Yes, we can onboard you as a supplier on the platform. Be rest assured. First of all, like I said, we have two ways we can do this. We have the ATEX, we have the IITF Virtual. The IITF Virtual helps you to expose this your products to the whole of the buyers Africa, and also during the IITF, because we have people all around the world, trying to access the IITF platform. So to onboard yourself, you need to onboard yourself on the web page. We have a platform that's IITF Virtual. That is where you can have access to be able to upload your profile. And the buyer platform, yes, is strictly for the buyers. So because when they download the software, they can be able to have access to the exhibitors that has already been onboarded. And also you have to be aware that you can also be able to download it as a supplier when your profile has been uploaded. So I'm going to share a link with your answer on how you can onboard yourself as a supplier on the platform. And also you can actually send us an email that you want to be a supplier on the platform, and we can still assist you in onboarding your profile. So I'm going to share the link with you now, where you can provide because you have to express interest first. Why we do it this way is because we want to make sure that every exhibitor on the platform is verified, because we don't want anyone to just upload their information on the platform as a business, and maybe and we have businesses trying to engage you and realize that your business, we don't want to have illegitimate business on the platform. So that's why we actually made it a closed. We need to express interest first before we can assess your company, assess your profile, and then give you access to upload your information. So I'm going to post the link on your chat where you can be able to do this. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Comrade Bukar. Quickly, we'll go to the next question. Mrs. Adebimpe is asking that she represents BT Hub, an agricultural produce company, and she would like to inquire about the maximum loan amount the organization can offer. Mr. Adebimpe, it all depends on what you're producing. It depends on, it's actually dependent on a lot of factors. So what I'm going to do, we are going to leave an email address where you can send this question in details to, and you also share with us more information about your company and what exactly the loan is needed for. That way, we'll be able to provide a more informed response, to you. Moving on to the next question. This question is from Uche Austin. Uche says he's representing a Nigerian shea butter processor and is currently exporting to East African community. However, he's facing two critical bottlenecks that aligns with Afreximbank's mandates. He says the first one is equipment financing, that due to a critical machine failure, his production capacity has dropped by 50%. Hence, he needs to acquire modern milling and filtration equipment to restore and double their output. Ebuka, can you take this one? He's looking for
I'm looking for the okay.
equipment
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for your question. We believe, like I said, financing has different criteria. Mr. Jerry, if you're on, I think Jerry can provide more context to this question. But I know financing, of course, you have to send us an email. We have to look into a lot of things. Jerry, just go ahead, please. Thank you.
Thank you very much. If I get that question well, they need more machine, and I think it's for milling, right? Yeah.
Yes.
The first thing is that
and filtration.
Now that's like equipment financing.
Yes, equipment financing.
If I know not everybody want to talk, I would have just asked some question on the spot now, but it will probably take time. is just to ask the milling capacity, how much do you make in terms of your revenue as of today? How much do you know? That automatically makes me know the category of the business and the people that are going to be able to finance that, which is important. But please send us that email and let that email talk about a summary of your business, how long you have done that business for, giving us an idea of the sales you make in a year. That's your turnover. And of course, you probably can tell us the profit you make, or you don't tell us the machine you want to buy, where you're going to buy it from either locally or you're going to import the machine. It's important if you have a local supplier that have taken the import risk. I'll probably advise you to stay with that local supplier who has taking the import risk. Very important, except you're a very large organization that can speak directly to the manufacturer, and you can manage the risk that comes with that. It's important. Then how long you're looking to pay that particular money. When we just look at all those things, I think we can provide an advice, and we need to call you. We can have a quick 15 to 30 minutes call on that. I hope that clarifies for whoever asked that question.
Thank you, Comrade Jerry. Please, if you still need more information, I have dropped the email addresses in response to your email, to your question, and please feel free to send all the details as he has requested, and you'll be assisted further offline via email. We'll just take 2 more questions and we would have to call it a wrap. Someone is asking, this is for Miss Janice. Is the Kenyan pavilion also up for the upcoming IETF in 2027? The last time the arrangements made some of us to miss this wonderful opportunity. Comrade Janice, over to you.
Yes, definitely. It's open to all. I do have your email address. I'm definitely going to reach out to you and send you all the rates and packages. And we will be coming to Kenya as well for a roadshow, which we'll also share details later on in the year. And Kenya does take huge participation, but I hear you, and I think I will send you the details as soon as possible so you don't actually miss this opportunity.
Thank you so much, Comrade Janice. There's another person who also wants to, he said he's currently registering on procurement platforms and he would appreciate information on how to register and participate at the IETF. So rest assured, all the information about IETF is going to be shared to everyone here, how to be an exhibitor, how to be a participant, how to, how to bring your community, your association, your country, everyone is welcomed. More information is going to be shared to everybody about IETF. Please look out for our communication and endeavor to sign up once you receive the link. The last question I will take now will be from, this should be for Mr. Jerry from Temitope Shitu. We are Ocean Trove Global Services Limited. They are onboarded on ATG already, a transport and logistics company based in Nigeria. However, they have realized that Afreximbank has been supporting SME that are product-based business. Are you also supporting service-based business with a great potential across Africa and other regions? Mr. Jerry.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay.
So if you look at the list of sectors that our program support, either directly or indirectly, we said export-oriented SMEs, which means that either you're facilitating export, you're there. So logistics firms are also there, either facilitating intra-African trade. And most of the things we do, once they align, and depending on the size, like we say, some directly, some we have to go through local intermediaries. So logistics firm, yes, because they are part of intra-African trade and extra-African trade. So yes, we do support. Like we said, I know maybe you might not want to put some of the things you want to do directly, openly, based on the email that Comrade Cynthia had shared. You can put a detail of what you want to do there, and we'll tell you our available programs and support we provided. And I think that's the final question, Comrade Cynthia, because there was a question we're supposed to, and that was asked from Edo State, if I'm not mistaken. I will say we should pin it to you now.
Thank you, Comrade Jerry, for that response. I hope, again, if you need further information, don't hesitate to send us an email. I said that was the last one, but let me just give another last opportunity to one more person. This has to do with the IATF from Isaac Lorenzo. He's asking, what is the challenge to SADC countries? Because we see a low mobilization at the IATF last edition. Can you speak about the challenges and opportunities for Angola concretely? Ms. Janice. He wants to know what's the big challenge so he basically wants to know why SADC countries were not very well represented during the last IATF. Was there a particular reason why there was a low mobilization of SADC countries at the IATF? And we want to know, especially Angola, to be specific, why Angola was not represented, and if there's a challenge or if there's an opportunity for an Angolan business to participate in IATF, probably the next edition.
No, definitely there is an opportunity for Angola to participate. I must say that according to the statistics, maybe, we were just a little bit misaligned, that Angola is one of our biggest markets. In terms of exhibitors, sponsorship, it's actually in the top 5 from the statistics. And normally the Algerian government, who, I can also share details with, they also take normally a huge pavilion, and they've been participating in IATF from 2018. But there is absolutely no challenge in terms of the SADC market participating, because IATF is actually open to all. Maybe there could be challenges with some people for connectivity or visas, but definitely from the statistics, it was quite clear. But what I can do is, if you share your email with me, I can contact you and we can go through it, and I can present to you and we can talk about it, and I can share with you, and also just share some statistics from the SADC region of the companies that do attend.
Thank you. Again, if you need more information, more clarification, don't hesitate to drop us an email. So that will be all the questions we can take for now. I see some people are still posting the questions. We'll try to answer as much as possible via the chat. I think we have already covered a lot of questions that were posted in the chat. If we couldn't take yours, please rest assured we can always take it offline. Drop us an email and we'll respond to you. Even those asking about our Mansa, our due diligence platform, our colleague is going to provide all of that. And my colleague, we're also going to display the email addresses that you can send your questions to. No question is going to be ignored. Please do not hesitate to share your questions. These are the email addresses that you could use. You could send your questions to iokaja@afreximbank.com or ahani@afreximbank.com. The QR code here, if you just scan it, you can download the African Buyers Program platform application. It's a mobile platform where you can easily connect to the buyers. We thank you all. Thank you very much for a very good session. I will invite my colleague, Ms. Aya, to give a short closing remarks to call it a day. Aya, over to you.
Are you good? Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
As we come to the end of today's session, we would like to sincerely thank every one of you, all participants, speakers, partners, and stakeholders who joined us from across Africa and beyond for being part of this important conversation. Today's discussion reaffirmed that the future of intra-African trade will only be shaped by meaningful partnerships, active buyers, suppliers, connected businesses, and the willingness to transform opportunities into real transactions. The African Buyer Program was created to move beyond introductions and create sustained trade relationships that will drive growth across Africa and the Caribbean. Through collaboration, financing, market intelligence, and digital connectivity, we have the opportunity to build stronger regional value chains and unlock greater trade potential across the continent. We encourage you to stay engaged, continue exploring opportunities through the African Buyer Program ecosystem, leverage ITF Virtual, Afrexim Bank, African Buyers Digital Community, and connect with African Bank solutions designed to support your trade journey. This is only the beginning of a large journey toward deeper market access, stronger business connections, and a more integrated Africa. Thank you once again, all of you, for your time, participation, and commitment. We look forward to continue the journey together. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone. On behalf of Afrexim Bank and the African Buyers Program, thank you for joining us and have a wonderful afternoon.